What's up everybody, welcome back to another episode of Everything Except Nothing. This will be another video in this series of pop-up campers that I've been doing recently, and I wanted to put together a video of me installing a lift kit and wheels and tires on the Jayco Jay Series pop-up camper. I didn't see many good videos online about this installation, but I will say I bought the lift kit, or the spacers, whatever you want to call them, from eTrailer.com, as well as the wheels and tires, and they did come with actually really great instructions, so shout out to eTrailer for that. It looks like they put a lot of time and effort into those, but I like to watch videos on how to do things, so I thought I'd make this video for anybody who is out there wanting to do a similar installation on a pop-up camper to lift a Torflex axle style camper. So if you don't have leaf springs and you have a Torflex axle, then this is the video for you, and we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So let's check it out. So they're gonna fit. Okay, so I am getting ready to install the lift now on the Jayco pop-up camper, and these are the pieces for the lift here. So it's just a 2 5/8 steel spacer. So we're gonna drop the axle, put this in its place, and then bolt the axle to this. It came with 2 of these, and then just a bag of hardware, and I'll show you. And then just a bag of hardware, and then we'll go and see how all this bolts together. But it seems pretty simple. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of weather, so I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. But I have already lifted the camper and put jack stands, and then I also put the stabilizing jacks down as well. I'll show you that in a second, just to add some security and stabilize it so it doesn't shift back and forth as I wrench on this thing. The first recommended step was to loosen one side. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen the bolts on one side, not take them all the way off. And then I'm going to take the bolts out completely on the other side. Okay, so here's a little trick I use when I don't have an impact. This is the setup I use to break bolts loose. Basically, I set up a jack with a long extension, and I have a breaker bar here, and then I have the wrench. Let's see if it will. I have the wrench back there that will press against the frame, and that's how I'll break this bolt free. And once again, I'm not taking this side all the way out, I'm just breaking it free, and I'll do that to the other bolt as well. Unfortunately, I can't see the other bolt because of the hub, so we're gonna have to use a different method to break that one free. Okay, I was able to get that one free, not too bad. Can't use this, it's too short, so I did have to get a breaker bar. Fortunately, I had enough room to clear it, and I was able to break it free. Both are loose. So the axle did drop slightly now that I got both pieces of hardware loose, and it came down about this much. What I'm gonna do next is, same process, I'm gonna break both these bolts free, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my hydraulic jack under this axle on the back side of it, just bumping it up a little bit, taking the tension off of it, so that way when I break it free, it's not just going to come slamming down. I'll have it propped up with the hydraulic jack. Now I'm just going to repeat the process and undo both these bolts. Okay, so I got both bolts out. They're just chilling down here now. all the weight is on the jack, and I'm going to drop the jack down and we'll see how the spacer fits in here. Okay, cautionary tale to anybody who is doing this with hydraulic brakes. Well, even probably electric brakes. What you want to make sure is that you don't put too much tension on the hydraulic line or brake line right here. It still has some wiggle, that's good, but definitely don't want to drop it too far so that there's too much tension on there. Right now, because of the way that this Torflex axle is, the hub is off center to the axle, so it wanted to swing this way. So essentially I just dropped it as far as I thought I needed to get the spacer in there, and I might have to make a couple adjustments, but let's get that thing placed in here now. Okay, so I've encountered a problem. The hardware that came with this kit is way too big for the holes that are in my axle. I don't know if I got the wrong kit or if it's just bigger, but the bolts going through the frame piece here, as well as the bolts that are going to go to the axle, are going to be too big. That's probably why there's a difference in size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the original bolts that hold the spacer to the frame, and then I'm going to go ahead and drill this out in the axle to make it a bigger, so I can use the new hardware for this section, and we'll see how this all works out now. Alright, so I'm going to try to use a step bit to ream this out. The angle here sucks, so we'll see how well this goes. And we're starting to slide off the jack. So, let's shift it back. Looks pretty good, but just give it a little bit more. And we're good to go. Now I'll do the same thing to the other side. And of course I'm going to do all of this to the other side of the axle. I don't know if I'm going to show it, but we'll go ahead and do that. But we'll go ahead and take care of this here. Woo, that's hot. And we're free and clear. So now we can actually start putting this thing together again. All right. So we'll put the spacer back up here using the old hardware. The reason I'm using the old hardware on this side is because really the frame, the weight, the gravity is going to push against and kind of press all this together, and really we're just clamping this to this piece, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of stress pulling this apart. Whereas bouncing up and down, I think just having the larger hardware vertical might help me out better. I'm not sure if that's any weight to that logic, but that's what I want to do. Okay, another step that the instructions say is to have the bolt head on facing this way on this piece of hardware and facing down on this hardware, so the nuts are not in this cavity. I think it has to do with clearance, but just keep going here. So these, the original hardware, I don't know if you can see this, there's these ribs on the edge of the hardware. That goes out. I believe that indicates that there's a taper, and so the tighter you, as soon as you get this tightened down, it tapers and gets tighter as you go. It's not just a flat thread. Get this going here. This will stay the 3/4 inch hardware. So what I'm gonna do is I'm only gonna get those a little bit tight. Then I'm gonna put this all back together, and then I'm gonna lift the axle and use the axle to press this as tight as I can upwards. And that way, because if I put the tire on and let everything sag down, I won't be able to access the bolts. So I'm gonna use my jack to press up and get everything nice and snug. Okay, so I tightened these as tight as I could, hand tight. Not as tight as I could, but got them pretty snug. And I left the ones that go through that attach the frame loose, just like we would for the other side, so that we can free swing on the other side. And the reasons why the bolts go here and here is because this is how tight it is. If you can see that, there's no way that the excess bolt could go through here. They would hit each other, so that's why it's designed that way. I did have to modify this a little bit. I had to drill both the spacer and the axle flange here so that it would align. It just was slightly off, and like I said, this one wouldn't receive the larger hardware, so I did have to use a unibit and drill both sides. But now we're going to switch over to the other side and drop that side, get the spacer in over there. All right, so we're back on the other side. Gonna lift it up. Okay, so my battery died earlier, but I wanted to review this. The original bolts are 1/2-inch bolts with 3/4 inch heads, and the new bolts are 5/8 bolts with 15/16 heads. So the old bolts, the 1/2-inch bolts, I'm going to torque them to 100 foot-pounds, and the 5/8 bolts, I'm going to torque them to 130 foot-pounds per the instructions. And we'll get this side buttoned up, and then we'll start putting on the tires. Okay, so I got everything bolted back together. We good. We good. All right, so we spaced from here to here with this new contraption, and we also put bigger tires on. So these are the old ones and the new ones. So I went from a 13-inch rim to a 14-inch rim, and increased the tire size as well as the tire width for a couple reasons. One, obviously to gain the height, and two, I wanted the width to be bigger so that I have more surface area on some rough terrain as we go throughout our camping trips. Okay, so the next step is to put the new wheel and tire on, but the problem is when I lifted the trailer up, I got it just high enough that I could do the axle drop and get the original tire off, but now the axle's lower and now I can't get the new wheels on. So I'm going to have to lift it again on the one side so that I could get the wheels on. One last thing, I got everything, I got the wheels back on. If you're gonna use this exact setup, the wheels I used, I got them off E-Trailer, check them out, but it did need a shallow thin wall socket, which luckily I had. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to get the lugs down all the way. It's a 21 mil lug, so it's all wrapped up. So I'll do a walk around and we'll see how much height we gained on it, and this project is about wrapped up. Alright guys, so the project of increasing the tire size, putting the lift on the camper, the pop-up, is complete. I might have got a little aggressive. I think based on the measurements that I took at the wheel well, which is this pivot point, so it shouldn't vary too much depending on how much pitched I have. I think I'm up almost 5.5 inches. So I was looking for 4, I gained a little bit more. The problem with this is that now my stabilizing jacks are too short, and my tongue jack I think is also going to be a little short. So I'm going to need to take on this first trip a ton of lumber so I can get the trailer leveled out, and you know, you do one project and now you need to add and continue to add and continue to add. So this is the final product. And there you have it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's supposed to be instructional. I actually couldn't find anybody who did this lift on a pop-up. I've seen them do this lift on a couple of the trailers, but it did work out, and I hope if you find it helpful. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, as it does help the channel. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.